Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Hansford. I'm Vice President of Marketing Performance here at Heinz Marketing, and I wanted to just go through a little bit of information about some of the challenges that many of us as B2B marketers go through in capturing the right information and reporting the right information that shows revenue performance and pipeline building. And I wanted to go through some of the challenges there, and then ultimately I'd like to talk with you individually if you have questions about a KPI dashboard architecture that we've developed that could be applicable for you using the tools that you have and putting the information together and also getting your team on board and capturing the right information so that you can show how well your marketing team is performing, how well pipeline is developing, how well you are working with your sales team, and then ultimately being able to use that information to roll up with your and share that with your executive team, not only to share background information on what's happened in the past, but being able to use that information to help guide future decisions, to optimize what you're doing currently, and also identify opportunities that you could take advantage of. So I think there's things that are interesting here that with this slide, I wanted to show how this is actually a cockpit for the Concorde, one of the greatest airplanes that was ever developed for any of you airplane geeks out there. And I think a lot of times we can look at how we do our monthly business reviews or quarterly business reviews in the same way that we could look at this cockpit. It's incredibly confusing. There's tons of dials, there's tons of buttons, all kinds of information that are being presented. You have to be incredibly well trained and informed and skilled to understand exactly everything that is being presented there. To get any sort of meaningful information about what is going on, where you've been, where you're going, and guiding the best course. Ideally, you know, or the bottom line is, we're, as marketers for the most part, we're reporting on just a bunch of junk, a bunch of activity metrics that just don't matter or mean anything to any of the executives, that don't really show how you're moving the ball down the field. They may be important in their own context related to campaign activity or certain activities or tactics, but when you're talking about big picture, key performance indicators, a dashboard that has this much information really isn't that meaningful or helpful. So ultimately what we want to get to is a dashboard like this. It's a more modern dashboard. This is a high-tech dashboard that much more efficiently presents a whole wealth of information that helps you navigate where you're going and what you're potentially going to run into with weather or other traffic, things like that. So think about that. I just wanted to use those two diagrams as airplane cockpits kind of as, you know, a metaphor to help illustrate some of the challenges that we face. And ultimately, let's see what we can do to get to a more efficient dashboard that is more meaningful, easier to interpret and digest, and use that information to make decisions moving forward that is helpful to everybody on the team and not just a bunch of gobbledygook. So when we look at some of the information that we have with, you know, what we looked at high-performing marketers to moderate performers to underperformers, it's interesting to look at information that Salesforce put together in their excellent fourth annual State of Marketing report, and the top 3 challenges that each category of performing marketers faces. And the number 1 challenge of high-performing marketers is creating that shared single view of the customer. And number 2 is leveraging data from different sources. And then 3 is budgetary constraints. And when you compare that in terms of priorities to the moderate or underperformers, it's very interesting just to see how some of that is flipped. So the high-performing marketers, they are very squarely focused on their number one priority on creating a shared single view of the customer. And that is very, very broadly encompassing. I will absolutely admit that. But in order to be able to create that shared view, you have to be able to look at the data of what you're capturing, how to use that data, what has happened in the past, and more importantly, why has that why have certain things occurred, and then how can you use that information to guide what you're going to drive towards in the future. So the other look at is SiriusDecisions just came out with their 2018 global CSO, Chief Sales Officer study, and all of the participants acknowledged that the number 2 source of revenue for their organizations was marketing sourced revenue. Number 1, sales source, not a surprise there. And then number 3 was telesales source. So marketing is sourcing an incredibly important amount and a significant portion of revenue for organizations. We've all known that for a very long time. What's happening is we are tracking it bit by bit more and more. We're not, as a whole, B2B marketers as a whole are not doing a very effective job of that based on surveys that we've done and a lot of the client work that we've done at Heinz Marketing. The problem is capturing the right information, having that strategy, having that plan to be able to demonstrate what exactly marketing is contributing. Because I guarantee you, your executive suite, your CEO, your CFO, your CSO, and other colleagues, board, investors, they want to know how much revenue marketing is contributing to the business. Have to be able to track that in a reliable and meaningful way. Another challenge is, thanks to a brand new study from Ascend 2, is marketing attribution. So we're dipping into and learning about how to measure overall performance of certain marketing tactics and channels and how that applies to or ties back to budgets that we've spent and what has delivered the best ROI. Many times we're looking at ROI in a very short or narrow view, such as leads created. But if we can start looking at how leads are created and then opportunities are created and then deals won so that we can have that full path of attribution measurements in how marketing is not only sourcing revenue but enhancing or influencing or helping accelerate deals through the pipeline. That's incredibly important, and there are ways to actually track that data and measure it in a reliable and credible way. And it's something that B2B marketers must do. It's not an option anymore. We need to be able to do this because we're a part of the business, and we need to be able to show the math behind what is going on. And you know, the edge is we have tools that are a significant problem to us. Heinz Marketing and Insight Squared conducted a survey earlier in 2018 that focused on satisfaction, user satisfaction with marketing automation platforms. And we looked at a number of key issues. And the number one finding that we found with all users that we surveyed was that the analytics and reporting capabilities is the most important feature considered when deciding on purchasing a marketing automation platform, yet it ranks last in user satisfaction and trails perceived importance by the vendors. So it's a very challenging issue where we have 6,000 to 7,000 marketing automation tools and we have all of these platforms that we're working with, and then the core systems of record, your CRM system and your marketing automation platform integrated together, they're not able to, or we are not effectively using them to actually capture and report on the right data. So there's a lot of issues there all around that we're looking at, and how do we get past that? But before we think about getting past that, we have to acknowledge some of the problems that we have organizationally and with workflow and with business process. Many times I see this all the time with clients or other companies that we talk with or my colleagues. Executives, quite frankly, if you are a C-level executive, president, CFO, if you are a board member or an investor, I got to call you guys out. First and foremost, you guys are asking for too many metrics that are in data points that just really don't matter in the strategic big picture scope of things when driving a business from a marketing perspective. I think it's perfectly fine and acceptable and understandable to be interested in how specific campaigns are performing and driving responses. That's exciting because it shows what people are doing to actually engage with your business. I understand that. It's emotionally appealing and emotionally interesting. But at the end of the day, if you are asking your marketing team and marketers, if you are putting together 60, 70, 80, and even 90-page slide decks for your monthly business reviews or your quarterly business reviews, and they're loaded with just activity metrics, that information, I guarantee you, even if your executive asking for that information or if you're providing the information, nobody's absorbing that. That's not information that is encapsulated or summarized in such a way that helps drive the business. We need to boil this down in more meaningful ways. And the other problem that contributes to that is marketers just aren't collecting the right data points that they should to capture and develop a meaningful picture, that full view of the customer, that full 363-degree view of what the customer is and how they're engaging and what they're doing, where, just to feed back into what the Salesforce survey reported on with the top performing marketers. So most of the time, we're not even capturing the right data points. So if we're not capturing the right data, what happens? See this all the time is we fall back on activity metrics and the engagement metrics of site views and clicks and opens and traffic and all of those good things that marketers just love to report on, but from a strategic point of view, they just don't freaking matter. So we need to be able to roll that up in a more meaningful way. And, let's make our reporting and strategic level reporting more efficient. Instead of going through Excel gymnastics, or if you're asking your marketing team to spend 4 or 5 days on putting together Excel spreadsheets or 90-page quarterly or monthly business reviews slide decks, instead of actually focusing on what the marketing that is growing the business, you're doing it wrong. That's just it. That's the bottom line. We need to get out of those 90-page slide decks that are monthly business reviews. We need to get dialed into a dashboard that is more meaningful and provides information that everybody can absorb and see where the business has come from, what's happened in the past, understand why that's happened, and then what do we need to do to use that information to move forward. So, let's get out of this slippery slope of problems and move forward where we can actually capture information that is more meaningful for the business. Because at the end of the day, the number one contributing factor to how long a CMO will last, or the CMO's length of tenure at an organization, is being able to show measurable results. The CMO Council partners with Deloitte every year to produce a CMO survey, and year after year, one of the top factors that determines whether or not a CMO is successful at an organization and whether or not they actually keep their job is being able to show the results that they are driving for their business. That doesn't mean brand awareness that many of us like to focus on, or traditionally marketers have focused on. Brand is incredibly important, but in B2B marketing, we need to show results, and we need to show results in a measurable and credible way. So let's focus on that. Focus on capturing the right data that drives revenue. Where is revenue coming from? How effectively are we creating pipeline and working with our sales organization to actually accelerate deals and win deals? So the big question to focus on at the end of the day are, what are we doing? Marketers are really good at capturing the what. We focus on a lot of what with the metrics that we do capture, even if we aren't always capturing the right data points. So looking at the what. But where we start falling short is looking at the why. Why did this happen? Start asking that why question. Instead of just throwing charts up on slides or spreadsheets with data, let's have some interpretation and really put some intelligent thought behind why things are happening the way they are. And what do we do to either adjust or take advantage of new opportunities that we're seeing in the data that present themselves. And that means when we use this data, we're looking at how we can use that to move forward with the future projections, with the future ideas, with the future hypotheses that moves us forward with our business. So not just looking in the rearview mirror, but looking in the rearview mirror to use that information with some really well-thought historical analysis, business analysis on the why things are happening and how we can use that information moving forward. So there are things we have that we've developed at Heinz Marketing. Specifically, we have a B2B pipeline KPI architecture, and we share this and provide this and customize this for our clients. And I do have a framework that I would like to share with you individually, and I have some information on how you can get that. But essentially, we need to be able to plan and define the strategy to get to the right KPI architecture, make sure we're capturing the right data, have our system set up so that we are using the right data model, we're consistently capturing the right data, and we have our organization aligned on the data that we should be reporting on. We're not guessing. We want to provide the data, and potentially we may need to teach our executives that this is important and meaningful data, and here is why it's important. And avoid the rat hole exercises. So, do what we can to work with you to focus on the right data points and acknowledge that there is some enthusiasm around what's going on with marketing because it shows where people are engaging and you're getting people that are touching you and talking with you, and there's some interesting and exciting metrics there, but at the end of the day, we need to be able to show what's growing the business. And most importantly, how can we use that historical data to help us make decisions to move forward? So I'd like to encourage you to contact me, Brian Hansford at Heinz Marketing, for more information on how we can help you with developing a specific revenue KPI dashboard architecture that is applicable for your business. And that means we are looking at your revenue pipeline, marketing sourced revenue, marketing influenced revenue, sales pipeline velocity, leads created, opportunities created, deals won, number of new customers per month, etc. And believe it or not, it may sound daunting, like a huge exercise. It's actually pretty straightforward, and we just need to have a new mindset in how we apply that and look at the data. So let us send you a blueprint. Contact me, Brian Hansford, at HeinzMarketing.com. I'd love to talk with you about that. It's applicable. It will make your life much more interesting and rewarding as a marketer within your organization if you have the right KPI dashboard architecture that is strategically focused, but it also focuses on the big rock data points that show how you're moving the ball down the field. So I'd love to talk with you, and if you have any questions about that or anything related to measuring marketing performance management, dealing with attribution strategies, a variety of technologies that you're using, the data points that you should be capturing, don't hesitate to reach out and contact me, and I really appreciate your time.